welcome to Catholica again. It's a great pleasure. I've had a number of days here with Tom McMahon, who's visiting us from California with a lot of very interesting conversations. So welcome to Sydney, welcome to Australia, Tom.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
Yeah. I thought the idea of this conversation is basically just to let the other readers get a feel for you, you know, what you look like, what you sound like. And I thought the mechanism we would do that would be to just have a brief review of the sort of territory that you've been covering so far in your series on sacraments. So if we start off, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to say to us in writing a series on sacraments?
Well, Brian, I think that I'm writing about my own life and what's happened to me in my relationship to the church and to people today who are basically struggling with the concept of the present church, the institutional church. And I'm just reflecting on experiences that I've been into, particularly the priesthood and the sacraments, and trying to share what I think of them, and perhaps a need for renovation and sprucing them up or getting rid of some of them too.
What do you think? Did Jesus have an idea of sacraments? You know, where did this idea of sacraments come from?
Oh, I think Jesus had an idea of sacraments in the general use of the term. The idea that a sacrament is a symbol of something. Now, I don't think he had any idea of the sacraments that we have, the 7 sacraments, baptism and things like that. You know, John the Baptist baptizes Jesus, but I think that's a symbolic thing, a cleansing, but it's not the sacrament that we have from the Council of Trent. Huh?
Right. And the 7 sacraments that we have today, you see as basically originating at the Council of Trent?
Well, Godfrey Diekmann was the one. He was that wonderful old Benedictine. He's dead now, but he put me onto the idea that the Middle Ages there, they had all kinds of sacred signs. They were for sale. They were invented by people, to make money and so forth, and to connect people to the God, to their God, and so forth. There were 140 of them, according to Diekmann, and the Council of Trent broke them down to 7 major sacraments, and then gave us what I grew up knowing as sacramentals. Holy water, the palms on Palm Sunday, rosary beads. These were all little sacred signs, and the 7 major signs. And these were set up by people. I mean, to say that Jesus set up the extreme unction, as we called it, or the last rites and such like that, there's no reference whatsoever to Jesus and that experience. That's from James and the Epistle of James.
Uh-huh. And in our modern age, our age of technology, as you keep referring to it, what's your feeling that these have become irrelevant, or that they've just lost their meaning?
Well, some of them have become irrelevant. Yes, I think some of them have.
For instance?
Well, I would suggest that such things as the confirmation by a bishop, I've mentioned it in the commentary, I see that as an ego trip by the bishop coming to say, I'm the boss, and the kids, they don't get anything out of it.
They call it the sacrament of leaving the church.
The exit sacrament.
The exit sacrament, yeah.
and is there other sacraments that are valuable? I would love to see the Eucharist used in the much more ancient way of breaking bread as a commitment of fellowship, of love with one another. I think that we could use if you dare call penance a sacrament. I mean, it's deteriorated and is really gone now from use. At least.
What do you mean? People are just giving up?
Well, who goes to confession anymore? I mean, I don't know what the situation here is in Australia, but in America, on a parish bulletin, you'll have the thing that says confession by appointment. Well, I mean, they're not going to do that. And yet, when I was first ordained back in 1954, we spent hours in the confession each week, and great number of hours at Christmas time and Easter, those celebrative days. I think we could use.
Aren't people searching for spiritual guidance? Aren't they seeking out today wise people, spiritually wise, who can help guide their lives? The number of books these days you see in bookshops on spiritual themes would suggest that there's a great hunger in society for spiritual guidance. Now, wasn't penance or the sacrament of confession or reconciliation supposed to be one of those main avenues where we got that one-on-one guidance?
Yeah, but I think sort of a natural ingredient. If you bake bread, you have to have flour. Okay, so I think to have the confessional system that I knew in the 1960s, you had to have a sense of guilt, and you had to have a sense of man, the human being a sinner, and they came with their sins, so often accusing themselves of not being perfect. And see, I see this as a modeling on the old monk style, the monastery, where the rule made them perfect people. They kept the rule, and therefore they were good spiritual people. Well, I don't see any value in that at all today. I can see where, a sign of mercy, if people were aware that there's a place to go and talk with somebody and get understanding, that would be a beautiful sign, I think.
And what prospect do you see of Rome or the institution or the element in the lay church that tends to control the agenda today being able to move around to a different viewpoint? Could you ever see a Benedict coming out and saying, listen, we need to reform this sacrament of reconciliation. This is the direction that it's taking from now on. It's not about confessing sins, it is about becoming a whole or holistic person.
Well, yeah, first I think you'd have to have a Benedict or a cardinal or bishop actually going to the level of the people and sitting there and wanting to be open to listening and let them say what they wanted to say. Yeah. But I mean, look at the staging that goes on when the Pope appears. Everything is prim and proper, and everything goes according to a ceremonial rite. And for instance, Christmas Mass at the Vatican. See, now how many people actually go to communion? There's a select number of people that go to communion, but the rest of the crowd doesn't go. They're not allowed to go. It'd take too long. Mm-hmm. See, and there, to me, that becomes just a play acting thing, mm-hmm. and there's no community sharing that's going on, huh?
Yeah, and I could suggest another play acting thing is